The Chicago Sky go 1-2 last week, winning one game out of the 3 games they had on the schedule, having a tough road trip, but there are some bright spots to pull out of it as well. And the Chicago Sky have finally made 2 hardship signings on top of everything. We're going to do that, plus go around the W for news right after this.
Welcome to Chicago Sky Central, and here's your host, Haize.
What's going on, Sky fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Sky Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Sky related and WNBA related if you're interested in the league as a whole. But let's go ahead and get into it. The Chicago Sky had a tough go of it last week. We went 1-2, even though we played pretty solidly in even a couple of those games. But the game against the Sparks was just frustrating, especially down the stretch of that game. Look against the Aces, and while the Sky lost that game by 13 points, it really felt like we were never really in that game. We did start off the week with a win in overtime against the Indiana Fever, but what we're starting to see is that the injuries are just starting to pile up for this team. As much as they have had the next woman up mentality, have played pretty solidly as well, the defense has still been pretty good. Seems like the Sky team is just running out of steam in some ways, and I don't mean that by like being too tired out there, but it's just like you only can have so many weapons, right? You can only overcome so many injuries to get to a certain point. And I think the Sky have reached that. Now, with that being said, the Sky have made 2 additional hardship signings to bring talent to the roster that we much needed. When you look at bringing Khaalia, Hillsman, and Taylor Soule into the rosters. And so these are two women that we absolutely needed at positions of need for us. Look at Rebecca Griner being down. She's supposed to be out for a considerable amount of time. Anigwe is going to be out for another 6 to 8 games as well. So we're going to have some questions there. Morgan Birch, we still don't know when exactly she's going to return yet. There's been some doubt. James Wade has said that she's looking pretty good. She's set to return soon, but we don't necessarily have a date on that yet. So, with that said, that we're going to be missing players for quite a while, right? And so with that said, we're able to sign 2 players to hardship contracts, and I feel like the Sky made pretty good choices on both of the players that they brought in. Soule is a former 28th overall pick in the WNBA draft, and Hillsman was undrafted but played for Texas A&M as well. She had training camps with the Storm, the Dream, and the Sun in 2018, 2022, and 2023. But overall, we got some things that we need to figure out. And injuries is going to be one of those, but at least we're coming to that. Birch is right now day to day as well. Anigwe can come back at any point in time. Just depends on how far her team makes it in that tournament. And the Sky got things to figure out. Right? And we come into this week. We only play Thursday and Sunday. We play against the Fever again, and then we face the Washington Mystics in Washington, and then we play them again at home next Thursday. So we have games Thursdays and Sunday the next 2 weeks. So only 4 games over the next 2 weeks. So 2 weeks plus, really. And so we'll see what that ends up shaking out for, like the Sky, if they can take this time, maybe get Morgan Birch back healthy, get healthy, figure out some things that they need to do on the offense and defensive side of the ball. And that's really what you hope for from the Sky team. Now, one of the people who stood out that I would say in this stretch is Alanna Smith, right? I had high hopes for her coming in. James Wade talked very highly of her. When you look at her averages of 10.7 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists per game, and right under a steal per game, Alanna Smith is balling. And she's given that effort on both sides of the ball that we need drastically, right? She started 7 out of the 10 games for the Sky so far, have looked, really, like I said, really good in those minutes, and she just continues to just show that this was a deep team. James Wade built a deep team. When you think about the fact that had we not suffered the injuries that we had, Isabel Harrison would have been the starter. Alanna Smith and Morgan Birch really would have, maybe been fighting for minutes at that forward position, even though both of them can play probably both forward positions. But at the end of the day, it's just, James Wade did build a really deep team, and I really do appreciate the depth that we have and how we keep finding people with that next woman up mentality, stepping up when we need it, and we continually are getting that effort. We just need to find better balance. Right now, the way that I look at it with the Chicago Sky, Khaalia Copper had a tough game against the Los Angeles Sparks. It was a tough game. She played a little bit better against the Aces. Still not anything amazing, right? I want to be clear in that. And I think that this team is still trying to figure each other out. And while the defense pushed them forward at the beginning of the season before the injuries really started to take us over, there's still enough enough room for improvement there offensively. And I think Marina Mabrey, over last week, I think she scored 56 points over the course of 3 games. So that's almost averaging 20 points per game over the 3 games last week. She's starting to really find her footing on the offensive side of the ball. We already talked about Alanna Smith, who's just finding out ways to be productive for the Sky team, rebounding, assist-wise, defense-wise, and scoring-wise. She's just finding a way to contribute. Elizabeth Williams has been everything that we really need as that anchor on that defensive side of the ball. Courtney Williams has been up and down as well. Dana Evans, too, like, she's starting to come along really nicely here, just being consistent as that scoring threat. We've talked about her defensive output since the season began, but I do think that that game against the Aces just maybe woke up the team to how much better they need to execute in certain areas of the ball, of the game, right? And even the game against the Fever, us going into OT against that game, against that team, and yeah, we pulled it out. We ended up winning by 5 points, and that was the game in which Khaalia Copper and Marina Mabrey both scored over 20 points, and then Alanna Smith also chipped in 18, and Dana Evans chipped in 20 off the bench too. We've seen how this team can get rocking and rolling. We've seen how well this team's defense, especially when they're closer to fully healthy. I think once Morgan Birch comes back as well, that's going to help tremendously because her, like Alanna Smith, has shown that they can give effort on both sides of the ball, can shoot the ball well, stretch the floor, rebound pretty well. They're active defensively. I think that helps figure out some things, right? And Inigwe, she hasn't quite been what it looked like she was going to be initially when she first started getting minutes. Sika Kone as well, who looked really good in her first game, had a couple of down games, but her minutes have also been inconsistent. But I think like now having a fuller rotation, especially once Morgan Birch comes back, being able to kind of balance out that roster, because you look at if you keep Alanna Smith in the starting lineup or move Morgan Birch back to the starter and you have Alanna Smith coming off the bench, that drastically improves your bench production right there because either player was given a lot for the Chicago Sky before they went down with injury. So that right there, it helps give another player for Dana Evans to come off that bench, and it helped change the pace as well. I like either one of those women to really help, continue pushing the Sky. And, even though Morgan Birch didn't have the averages in her 3 games that she started that Alanna Smith had, we knew it was kind of up and down for her as well. But I think Alanna Smith may have the chokehold on that starting forward position for right now, especially Morgan Birch coming back from injury, try to bring her back a little bit slowly as well. But overall, this Chicago Sky team needs to get it together, specifically offensively. I like we have that second gear defensively. Do we always execute the best defensively? No, right? We can be inconsistent at times in quarters there, but I respect the fight of this team defensively, and I think that's not going to be the thing that sticks out more times than not. The balance offensively, taking bad shots early in the shot clock, right? And especially when you don't get a lot of rebounds for this team and they're not getting out in transition, kind of set the team off at a deficit as well, right? So we're looking at those things that we need improvement for from the Chicago Sky team. And, hopefully with some time off, James Wade gets a chance to coach them a little bit and have some practices, have some shoot-arounds. They're not traveling as much. Hopefully, with those things coming along a little bit more for the Chicago Sky, since they don't play again until Thursday. They played again. They played yesterday, so they have 4 days off before they need to play again. And hopefully they really take that time to review some tape. James Wade maybe adapt the system a little bit, not hugely, because it's been a pretty damn good system, but just maybe find players in a little bit better spots, right? And like I said, especially when you have your forwards that can shoot threes, like Alanna Smith has been able to do, I would like to see Courtney Williams be able to operate more in the mid-range where she's more comfortable, because I do think in looking at Courtney Williams, there are times where she's thinking a little bit too much out there. She's still going to be great scoring the ball in the fourth quarter. You put the ball in her hands, is usually the right decision is going to be made. But there's just some things that you need to look at there, and I hope James Wade and the coaching staff is also looking at that as well. But overall, 2 games this week, 2 tough games on the schedule for the Sky, and it doesn't get any easier, right? Even the week after that, we face the Mystics and the Connecticut Sun, and then we go at 2 away games 2 home games, against the Sparks in Chicago, June 30th and July 2nd. But listen, this Sky team, they got to figure it out. They got to dig in, continue it. I hope that we see a little bit more consistent play from Khaalia Copper as well. She's coming along. Again, not anything that I'm saying is horrible. She's not played horrible by any stretch, and she's still adapting to being the number 1 option. She still deserves to be an all-star, still leading this team, and this team is still built around her skill set and her drive and heart, which you can't go wrong with. We just need to tighten up some things, I think, both sides of the ball, And I think the Chicago Sky are going to be all right this season. I think they're going to be all right. Championship aspirations, no, but this team is going to be damn good, and they're going to be a tough team for any team to face as the season goes on. But all right, that's it for the Sky topics. We're going to go around the WNBA now. You guys asked for me to start putting this on the back half of the show. But first up, we're going to talk about the WNBA power rankings. This one's from ESPN.com. Kind of the what you expect. The Las Vegas Aces are number 1. The Connecticut Sun are number 2, being 8-2. The New York Liberty are 6-2. They're number 3. I expect them to be number 2 with the way they've been playing here sooner rather than later. The Mystics are number 4. They have a 5-3 record on the season. They're playing really good. When you look at how Natasha Cloud and Ariel Atkins are coming along as the backcourt, and Della Don just being what she's been, that's a damn good team. And we faced them 2 times in the next 2 weeks, so we'll see. The Dallas Wings, 5-4, at number 5 in the power rankings of the Chicago Sky, right in the middle, number 6, 5-5. It makes sense. We were 4 last week. When you look at us going 1-3, having that tough road trip to Los Angeles and to Las Vegas, it makes sense. The Mercury right behind us at 2-5. They're at number 7. The Fever 2-6, number 8. The Sparks 4-4. They're number 9. And then you have the Atlanta Dream, which they're 2-5. Still one of the most exciting teams to watch, though. They're number 10. The Lynx are number 11. Seattle Storm rounding it out 1-6. They're number 12 on that list. But that's just wanted to go around that real quick. But there was an incident, right, with Brittany Greiner that involved a Blaze Media YouTube personality asking questions, filming it, just trying to be the main character. And, it's brought back the conversation over chartered flights for WNBA players, and specifically Brittany Greiner with everything she's gone through. I love how the league came out and so many women, members of the Players Association, the WNBA Players Association, coming out and speaking out about it. I love how the WNBA really is in this protect Brittany mode, and I'm here for it, right? Rightfully so, especially when you have a goddamn idiot that is there trying to make themselves the star, to quote-unquote get the story. It's just stupid. It's just stupid. You can never account for idiots, but especially when they're fuckheads and idiots, it just makes it that much worse. And I'm glad that ultimately, that, like I said, everybody's bonding together to really, protect Brittany in this sense. And, that conversation needs to be had about charter flights again. WNBA and the team's already said they're going to try to do everything they can as far as making that stuff more safe for Brittany Greiner. And it just sucks for a woman who's gone through things that none of us could really imagine what Brittany Greiner went through last year, right? And how long she was over there in another country, in prison. And it's good to see that, everybody kind of agrees on what needs to happen and how just fucking idiotic this dude was, right? And so I'm glad to see so many people speak out. I'm glad to see the WNBA protect their own. That's what we need. And so I'm happy for one to see it. And, most of what I've seen, you of course get some idiots on social media that want to say something stupid, but I'm glad that for the most part, what I see is all people being supportive of this situation with Brittany Greiner. But moving on, before we end the show, we had 2 marquee jersey retirements in the WNBA last week. Sue Bird getting her jersey retired by the Seattle Storm, playing 19 seasons in the WNBA. She was the first overall pick in the 2002 draft. 13-time WNBA All-Star, a league record. And you're not going to get many people to say anything bad about Sue Bird, right? And so it's good to hear that she got her jersey retired. It's going to be hanging up in the bleachers there. She had her jersey retired yesterday, right along with Sylvia Fowles, who also just amazing, former Sky player there. But, she even, Sylvia Fowles talked about building a dynasty with the Lynx and everything. She was a number 2 pick in the 2008 draft. She played 15 seasons as well with the Chicago, 7 with the Sky, 8 with the Minnesota Lynx. So it's just great to see. Really, it's just awesome to see just 2 women, 2 absolutely future Hall of Famers be celebrated in a sport that needs more celebration of their stars overall. And so, in being somebody who's loved watching the WNBA, who supports the WNBA, hell, I have a show, even though, some people say I'm crazy for having a WNBA specific show. Like, it's just good to see women who have given everything to this game, who have seen the growth, ebbs and flows of the WNBA, and has stuck around for as long as they have to be just 2 huge monoliths in this game. And they deserve everything that's coming their way. They deserve all of this, all the recognition, all the love. They deserve every single bit of it, because it's been amazing to see. And while you can overlook it and you can say, hey, just seeing how, they were able to play as long as they did, you can kind of sometimes kind of overlook that, right? Just overlook what it goes into to play multiple years at the professional, at any professional level, and to be able to do it at a high level almost every year that they were involved in it. Like, it's amazing to see. And I my hat's off to those women. Shout out to them. And that's really it. I'm going to end it on that one. Make sure you guys are following the show at Chicago Sky Pod on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoSkyCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail, 773-270-2799. We do share that with Chicago Bulls Central, so just be on the lookout for that. But like I like to end everything on, man, hey, I'll see you guys next time I see you, man. I'll see you guys next time we go to Skytown. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.